All right, y'all. So we've been waiting for this to happen for quite a while, and it finally looks like it did. And that is not a good thing. Israel and Hezbollah both claim victory after night of heavy fighting. Okay, so Israel attacked Hezbollah. What they claim these are their military positions, and they had, missiles that were pointed at Israel, and we had good intelligence that they were going to attack us any minute, and so we sent in our fighter jets and did a number and destroyed all of their munitions. And Hezbollah claims, no, that's not true, and there were counterattacks from Hezbollah. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. Israel said it hit dozens of targets in Lebanon on Sunday morning local time in a preemptive strike ahead of what Israeli and U.S. intelligence said was expected to be a major missile and drone attack on Israel by Hezbollah. Both Israel and Hezbollah tried to present their strikes on Sunday as a major success. Israel said it managed to thwart a large-scale Hezbollah attack with a preemptive strike. Hezbollah claimed its major attack was successful and said it had ended its military operations for the day. This exchange of blows, which U.S. and Israeli officials feared could ignite a much larger crisis in the region, appears contained for now, officials said. In recent weeks, Hezbollah has said it is preparing to launch a major attack against Israel in retaliation for the assassination of its top military commander in Beirut by Israel. Over the past 2 days, the U.S. and Israel obtained intelligence that showed Hezbollah was preparing to launch its retaliation imminently, Israeli and U.S. officials said. On Saturday morning, updated intelligence indicated Hezbollah decided to launch a major attack on Israel on Sunday at 5 a.m. local time, the official said. Several minutes before 5 a.m. Sunday local time, more than 100 Israeli fighter jets launched preemptive strikes on 40 different launching compounds in southern Lebanon, Israeli Defense Forces spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said in a statement. He said several thousand rocket and missile launching barrels were destroyed in the strike. Quote, "We are operating in self-defense from Hezbollah and any other enemy that joins in their attacks against us, and we are ready to do everything we need to defend the people of Israel." Most of the launchers were directed at northern Israel, but some, including longer-range precision missiles, were directed at central Israel, IDF officials said. They added the IDF also intercepted several dozen attack drones that made their way to central Israel. Israeli officials, by the way, notice Israeli officials, everything's Israeli official said, even though they've destroyed their credibility 47 ways to Sunday. But to be fair, I read an Al Jazeera article on this as well, and that also appears to, I don't know, it's very fuzzy and very up in the air in terms of we're light on details, we're light on specifics. We just know that there was fighting back and forth, and it appears like Israel preemptively went after Hezbollah missile sites because Hezbollah was preparing an attack, a counterattack against Israel since their Hezbollah commander was killed in Beirut. All right, they continue here. Israeli officials said Hezbollah planned to attack the headquarters of the Mossad and of Unit 8200, the Israeli NSA, which are both in northern Tel Aviv. But Israeli officials said this attack was thwarted and no rockets or drones hit central Israel. Hezbollah said in a statement that as part of its retaliation for the assassination of its top military commander, Fuad Shukr, it launched more than 320 rockets and several dozen attack drones against Israel. Hezbollah said its attacks were aimed at a dozen Israeli military bases in northern Israel and at a security compound in northern Tel Aviv. The Lebanese Shia militia said that despite Israel's claim of a preemptive strike, its attack was successful. So again, they're both claiming that, we achieved our goals. We had a successful attack. No, we had a successful attack. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah confirmed the militia launched drones towards the Unit 8200 intelligence base in northern Tel Aviv and toward an air defense base in central Israel, but he claimed Israel is lying when it says it thwarted the attacks. Nasrallah also claimed Israel was lying about the success of its preemptive strike and said none of the rockets and drone launchers used for the attack were damaged. Nasrallah stressed that this is only a first step because Iran and the Houthis are going to retaliate against the Israel assassination of a Hamas leader in Tehran and the Israeli attack on the port of Hodeidah. Jeez. He said Hezbollah has finished its response, but added that if the militia will see that the results of the attacks are not sufficient, it could launch another attack in the future. The U.S. was informed in advance of the Israeli strike, a senior Israeli official said. Israel is acting alone against Hezbollah, but in full coordination with the U.S. The update the Biden administration received was not in the 90th minute, the official said. White House National Security Council spokesperson Sean Savit and President Biden was closely monitoring events in Israel and Lebanon. Anyway, they go on here, but Israel claims Hezbollah was going to launch an imminent attack, so Israel launched an attack against Hezbollah preemptively. They're saying, hey, we hit all their missiles and their drones. Hezbollah is saying, no, you didn't. And on top of that, Hezbollah is saying, the things we wanted to bomb in Israel, we succeeded in bombing in Israel, and so we're declaring victory as well. And again, I want you to note something. I found this particularly interesting. It's that Hezbollah claims we're going after basically military installations and Israeli intelligence installations in Israel. And Israel doesn't contest that. Israel kind of admits, like, well, yeah, they were trying to go after our military. That alone says quite a bit, doesn't it? That alone says quite a bit, especially because Israel has a horrific track record of nonstop targeting civilians on purpose. So now let me show you, I think we have some video here. This is some video when Israel was conducting strikes on the Hezbollah targets. Here we go. So look, in all honesty, I don't know what to believe. I don't know who's telling the truth. And it's kind of weird that we have this like open question happening right now. Hey, did Hezbollah hit their targets? Did Israel hit their targets? I don't know. But what I do know is this, that this is an incredibly dangerous situation. And I feel like it's not getting nearly the discussion that it deserves to have, because we were warning you guys all those times that the IDF attacked in Beirut and when they attacked in Tehran to kill the head of the political wing of Hamas who was engaged in peace negotiations. Every time it's like, we told you, well, now this puts Hezbollah in a position and it puts Iran in a position where they feel like now we have no choice but to respond. Because if we don't, then the message that broadcasts to the IDF is you do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, to whoever you want to do it to, and then it's open season on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard heads and other members of Hezbollah. And so they felt like we are compelled, we have to respond. And so now we're finally seeing a situation where it has escalated. There has been attacks between Hezbollah and the IDF on the border of Israel and Lebanon. There's been attacks there. But this looks like the first confirmed time where it's really gone beyond that, and it could open the door again to a much wider regional conflict. And remember, the U.S. claims, oh, we're against this and we're trying to work on a ceasefire for Gaza, but they keep sending money and keep sending weapons. Biden keeps sending money and weapons. And of course, the only way to get them to actually stop being so aggressive and bellicose is to cut off their money and weapons. And Biden refuses to do that. The U.S. continues to send them money and weapons, and then we get situations like this. And, I fear what's going to happen from now, right? Is this over? I would highly, highly, highly doubt it's over. Now, also, let me share this with you. This is in CNN, guys. This is in CNN. For this to get to CNN, this had to be the case on the ground for already like 5 months. But look at this. Children are drinking from puddles and wading through sewage pools as Israel pummels water systems in Gaza. Again, for CNN to report on this means it had to be going on for 4 months, 5 months, and it finally got there because, historically, they've been late when it comes to discussing what Palestinians are going through. So here's what they say. Guns swinging from their hips, 2 soldiers in black combat boots and green tactical clothing appear to wire explosives to pumps at the Canada Water Reservoir in Rafah, southern Gaza. Moments later, an orange blaze tears through the critical facility in the Tal al-Sultan neighborhood as ribbons of gray smoke erupt in the sky. The blast was captured in a now deleted video, which was reportedly shared by an Israeli soldier on Instagram and geolocated by CNN. Satellite imagery shows that the reservoir was damaged between July 26th and July 27th. Destroyed buildings are visible in the surrounding area. The reservoir could hold 3 million liters of water and was central to the treatment and distribution of water in Rafah. So yet again, let's just call a spade here. This is genocide. This is a campaign of annihilation against Palestinians in Gaza. And it's hard to get, good numbers at this late date because there's no infrastructure on the ground to really follow these things in any serious, close way. Over 30 hospitals have been bombed. Every single school in Gaza has been bombed. UN headquarters have been bombed. UN workers have been bombed. They're still doing a siege. And now they're destroying the water. And so as a result of that, children are drinking from puddles and wading through sewage pools. That's not me saying it, that's CNN saying it. And so when you look at this scenario, again, to continue to send Israel money and weapons, that means that Biden is guilty of the crime of genocide. That's what that means. That means the U.S. is facilitating genocide, and they know it. And that's why we're at a position now where, according to Euromed Monitor, it's about 48,000 Palestinians have been killed. If you believe the study that came out of the Lancet, the medical journal, they say that there's 186,000 Palestinians who have been killed by both direct and indirect war deaths. And they say that's a conservative estimate, that when all is said and done, it'll be over 186,000. But whether you believe the low number of 48,000 or the high number of 186,000, bottom line is, what we know for sure is we have about a 90% civilian death rate. That's what we know. And you don't get that death rate unless you want that death rate. You cannot turn around and say, oh, we're being super precise in what we're doing when it's a 90% civilian death rate. No, that means you want to kill those civilians. And so, and I guarantee you, all of the coverage of if there is a further Hezbollah response against Israeli military targets or an Iranian response against Israeli military targets, it will be portrayed, by and large, in Western media as if Iran and Hezbollah were the aggressors. I think just reading this story alone, any reasonable person can surmise who the aggressors really are. There is no argument for we had to bomb the water systems that were helping civilians in Gaza. There's no argument for that. There's none. And it's wild, man, because, I'd like to think that the world would not forget and would not move on from what's happening in Gaza, but you got to call a spade a spade. It's getting much less coverage, much less discussion. I see it on our channel where the segments covering Gaza have not been doing nearly as well as they used to do. And I mean, honestly, I hope that that's more of a function of YouTube clamping down on it than a downturn in actual interest, because this is the crime of a century. This is the crime of a generation. And it deserves all the eyeballs, all the coverage, and it deserves to be ended immediately. So there you have it. Israel and Hezbollah are now, we've now crossed that next line where the fighting has gone deeper into both Israel and into Lebanon. And where do we go from here? I don't know. But final point is this. I've warned you guys about this, and I'm still worried about this. The October surprise this year very well could be Benjamin Netanyahu launching a full-scale, all-out war on either Hezbollah in Lebanon or Iran or both, and dragging the U.S. in. I hate using that terminology because it implies that we have no agency. The U.S. has no agency. We have agency, right? But dragging the U.S. in, where now you have the U.S. military engaged in an all-out war with Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And then if that happens in October, well, of course, Joe Biden's going to get blamed for that. And potentially Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's VP, would also get blamed for that. And that could be an attempt from Netanyahu to get what he always wanted, which is those wars, but also get the other thing he wants, which is Donald Trump back in the White House. And so the fact that the Democrats have not caught on to this is astonishing to me. Putting aside the moral and ethical perspective that what you're doing is wrong when you send a genocidal maniac weapons, there's also just a raw political calculation perspective that this is going to hurt you if you keep sending money and weapons. You're making it more likely you will lose. And they haven't gotten that through their heads yet. Even though there are stories like this now, even in CNN, about children drinking from puddles and wading through sewage pools. You want to defend this? By all means, go right ahead. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.